Mesdames et Messieurs, bonjour, good morning, and salam alaikum. I'm very pleased to begin my day with meeting all distinguished members of the media. Thank you for your covering this very important summit meeting on climate change. Mesdames et Messieurs, nous avons parcouru un long chemin au cours de la décennie passée. Chaque pays a conscience que le changement climatique est une réalité. Les enjeux sont plus grands que jamais. Le moment est venu d'agir ensemble pour protéger notre planète avec une détermination plus grande encore. Les émissions continuent de s'accroître. Les effets du changement climatique vont en s'intensifiant. Le temps joue contre nous. Les 5 dernières années écoulées ont été les plus chaudes jamais enregistrées. Et l'année 2016 sera presque certainement plus chaude encore. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, no country, however resourceful or powerful, is immune from the impacts of climate change. That is why we have seen overwhelming support for the Paris Agreement. It entered into force with breathtaking record and speed. Countries realize it is in their own national interest to take action now. Now, 109 countries have joined as of today. It is increasing day by day, maybe hour by hour. I urge all the rest to ratify as soon as possible. We have much to gain by acting now. I strongly urge all countries to increase the level of ambition in their national climate plans over the next 2 years. I also call on other sectors of society to accelerate their climate efforts. Cities, citizens, and CEOs were crucial to mobilizing political support for the Paris Agreement. They are also among the most visionary and ambitious actors building low-carbon, resilient economies that will prosper in a climate-changed world. Businesses can do more to seize the many potential opportunities. There has been tremendous progress in the growth of renewables, in green innovations, in thriving public-private partnerships working to transform key actors of our economy from land use and agriculture to sustainable transport, and in mobilizing voices of every age from every nation in support of a safer, clean energy future. I call on civil society organizations to continue to keep governments accountable to their promises. Ladies and gentlemen, I have made climate action a priority since my first day in office. Addressing climate change is critical to protecting our planet, safeguarding the most vulnerable, and advancing shared prosperity. It was truly a privilege to make this journey with so many partners from around the world who are committed to leaving a healthier planet to future generations. I'm confident that my successor, the Secretary General designate Mr. Antonio Guterres, and the United Nations will continue to advance this cause with energy and resolve for the sake of our planet and all people. And I'm also very glad to be here with Executive Secretary of UNFCCC, who has taken her new job as this very important organization. Former Minister of Mexico, or Foreign Minister Espinosa, and I count on your leadership, and I hope you will give her good support. We also have a new executive director of UNEP. He is also a very experienced person. So we have a very good team. New Secretary General, as you may know, this is my last COP and last 1.5 months to go as the Secretary General of the United Nations. I will never cease, even after my retirement, to working with the United Nations and my colleagues and world leaders to make sure that this climate change agreement is in full implementation to make this world and people safer and healthier and more prosperous. Merci beaucoup. Shukran. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will now take, if you have any questions, please. Yes, sir. Yeah, right here.
Good morning, sir, and welcome. Jamal Amiar from Morocco, Media 24. Before you leave Marrakesh and before you leave the UN, as you just said, as you know, the relationship between the UN and Morocco has been quite hot in 2016. I would like to ask you 2 points, just as appreciation. Your evaluation of the relationship between the UN and Morocco in 2016, and your personal and your evaluation of your relationship with the Moroccan leadership, King Mohammed VI. Thank you very much.
First of all, I have deep admiration and respect for His Majesty King Mohammed VI and his government leaders and people. I have a long experience and relationship starting since my days as a student in 1984, starting my first visit to Morocco. Then now as a Secretary General, I have been working very closely with the Moroccan government and diplomats and political leaders, including Mohammed VI King. I'm looking forward to my meeting, bilateral meeting with him today, possibly. And I'm grateful for His Majesty convening this very important COP meeting immediately after Paris Agreement. This is the first meeting, most crucial meeting to make sure that the world is united, both government, business, and civil societies. And I have already seen such a great excitement and passion among member states. This is a leadership of Morocco has been showing. Morocco is a very important country, a member state of the United Nations, not only in African continent or Middle East, but as a whole, providing many young and women to keep peace and security around the world. And Morocco has been showing great example based on democratic institutions, making sustainable development and championing this climate change actions. Now, I sincerely hope that in here, Marrakesh, we will set another very important commitment and passionate commitment to make this world better for all. And I count on His Majesty's continuing leadership and guidance on this matter. Merci, shukran. Yeah.
Thank you. In the front, right here.
Coral Davenport from the New York Times. Can you comment on the election of President-elect Trump in the United States? He has said that he will cancel the Paris Agreement, has appeared to indicate that the United States under President Trump will disregard the Paris Agreement. He's talked about rolling back President Obama's domestic climate agenda. Can you please respond to what this will mean for the Paris Agreement?
As you may know, last week I spoke to President-elect Mr. Trump, and I brought up many issues, peace and security issues, and including issue of climate change, I remain very optimistic about our efforts to combat climate change. Look at what we have achieved now. The Paris Agreement has come into force in record time. Never in the history of the United Nations, any convention, treaty, or agreement has entered into force in such a short period of time. And it has also has the highest number of member states, state parties, 193 out of 197 state parties. So it has established a lot of records, in fact. The global unity around the climate change once seemed to be unthinkable, but now it has become unstoppable. Look around us. It's not just the government. It's not just business CEOs and government, business CEOs, and civil societies have shown there's such unity of purpose and strong commitment to address and working together. They have mobilized for a better future. The global business community is now fully on board and moving forward to decarbonize and lessen their carbon footprint. For example, let me just say something about the United States as an example. We are working very closely with some of the largest American corporations on climate-related issues. For example, General Mills and Kellogg have committed to eliminate commodity-driven deforestation by 2020. Individual US states and major cities like California, state of Washington, or major cities like Las Vegas or Nashville, I think they have also pledged to reduce carbon emissions. Now, these American companies and largest local government, they have understood the severity of the climate change phenomenon. They are moving forward because consumers are demanding it, people are demanding it, and companies, they know that this going toward low carbon economy, that's the answer for their business future. Every member of the United Nations have signed up a Paris Agreement. Delegations were not forced to sign on. They signed on because they believe that it's in the interest of their own country, and it is in the interest of the whole world and whole planet Earth. As you know, this is my last COP and 10th COP. I have never missed one, and I have been participating on all 10 COP meetings, and I have been traveling all around the world. Wherever I was able to see the impact of climate change, starting from Antarctica and Arctic, and the climate, Lake Chad, and the Brazilian Amazon river basins, etc., so many places, you name it. I have been convinced by seeing for myself that climate change is happening. As distinguished scientists of IPCC have already made it clear several times, that climate change is happening much, much faster, and it is caused by human behavior. Therefore, it is only natural that we have to change our behaviors to keep this only planet Earth environmentally sustainable for our succeeding generation. And this is what I really wanted to say. When I talked to President-elect Mr. Trump, I raised this issue, and I'm looking forward to another meeting in person with him, and we'll discuss on all matters of our common concern, including climate change. I thank you.
Fethi, right here. Right here.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. It's always great to address a question. A follow-up on my colleague question from the New York Times. I mean, it's very positive that there are some states that they are embracing the Paris Agreement. But what if the federal government decide to not to extend the executive order that the Paris Agreement was ratified under? And my second part of the question to Secretary Espinosa, what is the contingent plan the UNFCCC is having should President-elect Trump after January 20 decide to revoke the executive order that President Obama signed? Thank you.
I think I have explained at length about our expectations, and I hope that duly elected President-elect Mr. Trump will really hear and understand the seriousness and urgency of addressing climate change. It's not only just a few countries. I think most of all the countries, 193 now, they have signed, and more than 75% of global greenhouse gas emissions accounted for by 109 countries. So it's a wholehearted commitment by whole world. Then as a President of the United States, I'm sure that he will understand this, he will listen, and he will evaluate his campaign remarks. We have seen many such campaign rhetorics not only in the United States, in many parts of the world. But as President Obama said in his press remarks, press conference yesterday, that he may have to understand the reality of the whole world's programs, including particularly on climate change. I'm sure that he will make a good and wise decision, and I'm going to discuss this matter more in person on this matter. It's not only me as a Secretary General. He will, I'm sure, that listen to all the voices coming from governments and people on the ground and business communities. Thank you.
Well, you know, the Secretariat has the mandate to follow up on the Paris Agreement, to follow up on the Convention, and to foster the implementation of the commitments that have been signed under the Paris Agreement. The fact is that the Paris Agreement has entered into force and is now obligatory for 109 countries that have ratified. And we are expecting in the coming days and weeks that many more will come and deposit their instruments of ratification. So in that sense, for the Secretariat, we do have this obligation to continue working in that. We have a clear framework, we have a clear scenario and clear objectives. So we will continue going in that way. As the Secretary General has just said, in that sense, this process that was unthinkable some time ago has become unstoppable.
Thank you. Carl, over there, all the way in the back there. No, there, voilà. Carl, right there.
Thank you. Carl Ritter from the Associated Press. In your discussion with President-elect Trump, did you get the impression that he has changed his stance from his campaign rhetoric on climate change? Thank you.
I can only speak for myself, and I do not disclose what the other party has spoken. However, my sense is that as a very successful business person in the past, before being elected, I believe that he understands that there are market forces already at work on this issue, and that we need to harness these forces for good of the planet and all the species in this planet. And I've been saying that, as I said earlier, once seemed to be unthinkable has now become unstoppable. It has turned around the corner. So now people are moving toward the right direction. When you say that more than 3,000 distinguished scientists of the world have repeatedly issued assessment report that climate change has been happening, unless we try to do our best technological, scientific, economic, and our political forces concentrating and to address this climate phenomenon, then we will have to regret not only for our succeeding generations, for our planet, which we have only one planet. As I said often, we don't have a plan B because there is no planet B. We have to work very hard, very seriously, and urgently. This is what I'm telling you, not as only Secretary General, but as one of the citizens of this world. I think you and I, and all of us, as a common moral responsibility, and I'm asking political leaders, they should have a strong political responsibility and moral responsibility. Their mandate may be limited, 4 years, 8 years, or 10 years, but our planet Earth, our world is eternal. We have to go on. So we have to address this climate change agreement phenomenon. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.